Morning. It's 10 o'clock and I'll call to order the Texas Space Commission Board of Directors meeting for June 30th, 2026. And before I begin, I'll ask everyone, including myself, to ensure that your mobile devices are turned to silent mode or turn them off. Thank you. Norman, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Gwen Griffin,
Here.
Vice Chair Kathy Leaders,
Here.
Secretary Kirk Shireman,
Here.
Dr. Nancy Curry Gregg.
Here.
Sassy Duggleby, Evan Loomis, Brad Morrison,
Here.
John Shannon,
John will be joining us. We'll make note of that when he joins.
Dr. Heather Wilson.
Here.
And Adriana Cruz.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. All right, we have a lot to cover today. So first, thank you, Norman, and to the staff for helping us to prepare. I'd like to thank all the board members for participating in today's meeting. Again, because we've been working so hard and look forward to sharing actions. Also, please be advised, and particularly for those members of the public that are participating, we've now identified our board meeting dates through 2027. We will be meeting quarterly, and as we complete one meeting, we will add the next one. So we'll always have a date. Of course, that might be subject to change closer to time, but at least you can add this to your calendar. So just to run through that, September 23rd will be our next board meeting. Then December 11th, February 26th of 27, May 12th, August 25th, and December 2nd. So thank you to Sylvia and the staff and to all the board members for weighing in on the calendar game to get us well ahead of our board dates. I'd like to share with the folks that are joining us today that the board's been in information gathering mode since our last meeting. We've had several engagements with NASA, the Space Force, as well as companies, nonprofits, institutes of higher education that are already located in Texas, as well as those that aren't, but are considering a presence somewhere here in the Lone Star State. And those engagements have really led us to the purpose for today's meeting. So I'm going to dig in because we do have a lot to cover. So for the board members, we'll move on to agenda item 3. We need to consider approval of our minutes from our February 17th, 2026 meeting. You have a draft in your board book. And I'd like to ask if these minutes accurately reflect our meeting, or do you have any evidence? Okay. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from our February 17th board meeting of the Texas Space Commission?
So moved.
Thank you, Kirk. And may I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Nancy. All in favor of approving the minutes from the February 17th, 2026 Texas Space Commission meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Or any abstentions? Okay, the minutes are approved. All right, I'd like to turn it over to our fabulous Executive Director, Norman Garza.
Thank you, ma'am. Just a few comments to update everybody. First, I'll provide a update on the status. So I've previously approved SURF awards. As a reminder, 24 have been approved to date, and 23 have fully executed grant agreements thanks to Turner and the team getting those across the finish line. So that's 4 more since my last report in February. There's one final one that remains to be executed, which is the City of Midland. They've been very responsive to us and I expect that will be complete here soon as well to get all 24 fully executed. Second, I'll report that the Texas House of Representatives Committee on the Delivery of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, has given me notice that they intend to hold a hearing this fall. And as a reminder, we fall under their jurisdiction. And so stay tuned for their announced hearing date soon, I assume. Next, I want to point out that Governor Abbott posted on social media about a recent meeting he had with Axiom Space and their decision to re-domicile here in Texas. Adriana and her team helped to facilitate that, and Gwen and I were invited to participate as well. Based off of the information that we're currently tracking, it seems that they're the second space-related company to undergo that redomicile process here in Texas. With that, ma'am, I'll turn it back over to you. And I think next on the agenda is our CFO, Warren Collier, to provide some updates as well. Otherwise, I'll pause for some questions.
Questions for Norman? Forward. Thank you, Norman. Warren, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Okay, Chair, board members, you should have in your packet a budget variance report. And basically what this is doing is it's breaking down into two different sections, administration, and then also the programmatic side. And so I just want to hit a couple of highlights on this as I see it. On the admin income, we're funding the admin with the interest that is earned on the trust fund. And so we originally had budgeted about 16 million. It looks like it's going to come in closer to 18 million, simply because the treasury pool rates have stayed higher than we anticipated. We were seeing a noticeable decline and then they kind of leveled off. So I think that we're good there. If you look at that section also on the object of expense, you can see a column that says percent of the year and the percent expended. So we're about 3/4 of the way through the year, and then that percent expended goes into how much of that budget are we through at this point. Now, you'll notice on salaries and wages, we're at about 53%, and that's just due to having 4 open positions within the Space Commission. When and if those get filled, obviously, that will get closer to that budgeted number. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory with the exception of 2009. These are LBB object numbers, and 2009 is a catch-all for everything else that doesn't fit in a specific category. You'll notice that we budgeted about 165,000 and we've expended 204. The overwhelming majority of those costs are related to sponsorships. So as the board approves those and they get paid, then obviously it's a bit of a a guessing game as to what that's going to be on a budgetary basis. Moving down into the section on the programmatic side, we have a total of $450 million that has been put into the trust fund. So we have total actual encumbered and expended of 114 million. So that would leave about 335 million that is not yet encumbered or expended, but those can be for items kind of in the pipeline. And that's pretty much it. Any questions?
Any questions from the board members online today?
The only other thing that I'll mention is that Norman and I are scheduled to meet in July to discuss the 2027 budget and also to draft another version of a legislative appropriation request type schedule. So I think that we made one really good stab at that last year, and we'll go through that process again with the potential of federal funds coming in. That's obviously going to change the structure, but we'll work through that and then make it available to the chair.
Warren, thank you. Thank you for your continued support of the commission. I know you wear multiple hats, and we greatly appreciate you. Okay, I'd like to turn it back to my screen here for Stephanie Murphy, Chair of the TARSEC Executive Committee, to provide a report. Over to you, Stephanie.
Great, thank you, Gwen. Good morning, everyone. My remarks will be pretty concise this morning, but 2 general updates to give. One is more of an administrative update. We continue to take on members in the state to the consortium, so adding to the institutions of higher education that are members by statute. We've opened that up to private entities and nonprofits in the state of Texas. There's an application process available on the website, and at this point, we've picked up over 50 additional entity members, so we're excited about that. We've also done a website update and revamp, which is now much more user-friendly to those members. Those members have access to a directory and also the first version of what we call a heat map, sort of showing where That one focuses on facilities and infrastructure in the state where testing facilities are available. New members have a way to request that their facilities make their way into that heat map right through the website. And so if someone has a TVAC chamber, for example, or a testing facility that they want to add access to, the awareness of the access to that to the website, they can do that through the members portal now. Also, we wrapped up some of the working group work that our executive committee was doing in coordination with the board. We were supporting some of those 5 working groups that we discussed at the last meeting. And since those working groups wrapped up, our EC continues to strategize and think about ideas that could enhance those. So we may actually be coming back to the Space Commission with some additional recommendations in some of those areas. We have our next executive committee meeting tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So we're happy to take anything from today's meeting and work that into the recommendations that we're drafting. And lastly, we're also continuing to plan a workshop in the fall that will likely be hosted by UTSA in one of their facilities there in San Antonio. That focus will be on helping Texas entities prepare better to do business with the DoD, including a heavy focus on CMMC, which are the new cybersecurity requirements levied on private entities doing business with DoD that go into effect this year. So we're still working through the planning for that workshop. It will be sometime after summer. Those are the general updates that I have. Happy to take any questions if there's any for me.
Yeah, any questions? Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions for Stephanie from the board?
I guess.
Go
ahead. You go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Miss Stephanie, how are you doing? Brad here. I guess a question in the vein of economic development, has TARSEC, I guess, discussed how Texas can improve its posture from economic development perspectives. These ideas might actually be useful to Adriana and her team at Texas Economic Development Office, and how TSC can be more supportive of making sure Texas is leading and building out, our nation's kind of space industry segment.
Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. Thanks for bringing that up. I would say we have, but not in a formal way. So we've been hosting workshops through TARSEC for 2 years now. We've engaged with lots of entities, some of which are already in Texas and some of which are not, and are very interested in doing business with Texas. Our executive committee, I think, has picked up general things that make some of the other states successful in recruiting businesses there. We've learned some things that are important to those companies. And so we'd be happy to maybe try to continue to pull that together in a more formal report or even a more focused workshop, if that makes sense for the TSC. I think it's definitely important. I think it's talked about at every workshop we've been at our engagements across the state. But we have not pulled it together as a formal action.
That's great. I do think maybe for the next board meeting, maybe they report back to us, and
Yeah.
Adriana, for some of those ideas, that'd be good.
And just to be clear, so I'm clear, the idea is that we want to understand how other space states are really growing their programs to attract company headquarters or businesses. I know I'm hearing more about Utah lately. Good for them. I know we need a national footprint for our industry here. So,
Well, just for the board's awareness, Joe Magruder is our aerospace and aviation specialist. So we have an industry specialist for this industry, and any insight that industry can provide to us is always helpful.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because Texas ranks #1 in a lot of things, and we rank #1 for economic development and for job creation and for economic growth and resiliency. But that just means that all the other states are competing with us and are trying to knock us off of our #1 position. And so we don't want to be complacent. We're always looking for how we can improve and how we can be better, and really we get that information from the industry itself.
I think that's awesome. Thank you so much. You're here.
Yeah.
Other questions on that for Nancy? I don't know if it's a different topic.
Yeah, I have one. So Stephanie, since the working groups met and developed the initiatives, a lot of strategic plans have evolved and changed. So has your committee discussed the current CLD landscape and how it could affect the Leo initiatives that maybe were initially crafted?
Yes, we have. In fact, that's an agenda item for our meeting tomorrow, Nancy. So great question. We do think that there are probably updates from at least our TARSEC Executive Committee making recommendations to TSC on the Leo Working Group inputs that we had. Isaac Min has put out a new chart that sort of shows the course for CLDs. I think it was just published a couple days ago. So we're going to be covering that in tomorrow's meeting, but we I guess we probably need to take a formal action to provide TSC some updated recommendations on that, but it is an agenda item for our meeting tomorrow, especially given that a lot of the leading providers of those CLD solutions are already based in Texas. And there's a big ecosystem here in Texas. I think it's really one of the priorities that we need to be working.
I might just define for those in the room that CLD is a NASA term for commercial LEO destinations, and that's really the replacement for the International Space Station when it's deorbited, right? Just to be clear for the record.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was referring to.
Augmentation. That's right. That's right. True. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Gwen.
so
Yeah,
Stephanie, if you did take an action and to report back on that,
Yeah,
we will do that, of course, Nancy.
thanks.
that's a good topic. A big topic. I feel we have more clarity in some areas that NASA's going, and LEO is important. Other comments or feedback on that topic, or any other questions for Stephanie this morning? Okay. All right,
right, thank
Stephanie, thank you. Look forward to hearing more about the meeting tomorrow. And thank you guys for your continued activity to convene.
Great,
Appreciate
thank
it
you,
very
Gwen.
much.
I've taken 2 actions out of today and follow
Okay.
up with Adriana's office with Joe Magruder. Sounds like is the right person to follow up with. And then this other action on the Leo recommendations.
Stephanie, if
know
you
if I-
haven't met Joe, we'll absolutely get you connected.
Yep.
He's terrific. He's been in that role for a long time. So
Right, yes, I would appreciate the connection. Thank you.
Thank you.
super. Okay. All right, moving along, I'd like to announce the creation of 2 new subcommittees for our board. Both are being established just to really ensure that we are using all best practices as the state commission. First will be the board governance subcommittee. I've asked Dr. Heather Wilson to chair, Brad Morrison and Kirk Shireman to work with her. They have all agreed to really look at recommendations such as board officer terms, as well as roles and responsibilities for those positions. Since we've been at this now for a bit, getting some of that defined and for good governance. And then also to consider roles for ex officio members right now. That is Adriana Cruz. And like when do we turn to Adriana for counsel and guidance and engagement? And then the same with the TARSEC chair, how we might look related to their expertise and that of the TARSEC Executive Committee as they work with our board. So very related to the board. So taking a look at board governance, Dr. Wilson and team have agreed to come back with some recommendations for our next board meeting. So thank you for that. The other subcommittee is the strategic plan subcommittee, as we assess our biannual update that is due to be filed by December 31st of this year. Kathy has agreed to lead this effort. Sassy Doubleby, Evan Loomis, and John Shannon will support and make suggested updates to our full board that we will discuss and approve in our December 11th board meeting, or as soon as it's ready, but for sure by the December 11th board meeting, to allow us several weeks to finalize and get that properly submitted. And you may recall that our statute requires us to update our strategic plan every 2 years. So thank you again for those willing to give more of their time to the Texas Space Commission. And so now I'd like to move on to the next agenda item. I'm going to do my best to not get tongue-tied here. We have a number of things to talk through, and I want to make sure that they are documented properly in our meeting minutes. So up next, members, is consideration and adoption of resolutions to approve RFIs, or requests for information, or RFPs, requests for proposals. And so I'll take a quick step back for the public to understand. I know many of you that I've visited over the last few months have been waiting to hear when and how we're going to open the SURF grant opportunities again. We'll do that through competitive grant opportunities as we did several years ago, but you'll hear this term more, competitive grant opportunities, or a CGO process. Ultimately, it will be an application. However, it won't be identical to the application that we used in 2024 during our last CGO process. Rather, it'll be a new application that will be developed based on following order of events. The first step in this process that we've adopted is board discussion and possible approval of resolutions, which we will do a number of those today, from either an RFI, an RFP, or a CGO that could be issued following the resolution by the Texas-based commission. RFIs are issued to gather relevant information that assists the commission in creating future RFPs or CGOs for which the SURF trust can be used. If necessary, the Texas-based commission will coordinate with the procurement department at the Office of the Governor for contracted services that are provided to the state and the commission. While state statute defines several eligible areas for awarding a SURF grant, today our goal is to focus on priorities that have been identified through engagements with external stakeholders, recommendations from the TSC board, and the TARSEC executive committee working groups that Stephanie referenced in her comments. The resolutions we will consider today align with several priorities for the space ecosystem in Texas and for our nation. But please rest assured, if you don't hear a topic that's outlined in our statute, that other areas will be considered in future meetings. So members, relevant details on resolutions before us today are in your board book. So I'd love to jump in. Norman.
Real quick, before we call for discussion and a vote, Mr. Shannon, if you're able to come on video for the purpose of recording a vote, please do so. Otherwise, we still have a quorum, but just want to make sure that if he tries to vote, we need to have him on the video as well.
Okay. All right, so moving along in your board book, if you've flipped to resolution 1, request for proposal, launch and reentry activities. First, we have a resolution to issue a request for proposal for professional services to conduct a study and prepare a formal report about the viability of sites in Texas that may support operations for launch and reentry activities. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to approve issuing an RFP for professional services pertaining to launch and reentry activities? Hearing none, yes, ma'am.
So, is this for all launch activities, like to include like hypersonic launch?
Yes, based on the working group's findings.
Excellent.
Yes, good clarity. Thank you, Nancy. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue an RFP for professional services pertaining to launch and reentry activities? Motion?
I move.
Thank you, Kathy. And may I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
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 And any opposed, say nay. Or any abstentions. Okay, the resolution is approved. Thank you. All right, we're moving to resolution 2 in your board book. Request for information, NASA class environmental verification facility. The second resolution is to issue an RFI, request for information about existing facilities that can be upgraded and to support in-space environmental test and evaluation. This RFI will seek input from specific respondents to identify existing facilities which support test and evaluation of spaceflight hardware and thermal vacuum chambers. The responses must outline necessary upgrades to increase or enhance existing capabilities in Texas. Members, is there any discussion on the resolution to approve issuing an RFI about existing thermal vacuum chamber facilities in the state of Texas?
Maybe, Gwen, if I could, just a comment
Okay.
on this one. You know, this is an interesting one because everyone who flies things in space needs these kind of facilities, and some of them are extremely capital intensive and probably out of the reach of most small companies. So there's definitely a need for this capability. But there are companies who make their lifeblood by providing these facilities. So I'm looking forward to the RFI to kind of navigate that line between what should be, government funded, government supported, or what should be privately owned and perhaps supported by TSC. So I'm really looking forward to this. But I think this one in particular, for me anyway, has got this line in it about what is government and what should be private. And I look forward to seeing the responses in this board navigating that line.
Yeah, no, point well taken, Kirk. I think our next resolution really pertains to that as well. So, yes, ma'am.
Clarification. So it says in space environment test and evaluation, but you specified thermal vac.
This first resolution,
It's specifically for thermal vac.
yes, because there are several chambers that exist,
Right.
large
I
chambers.
just
in
wanted
the
to
state
make
of
sure
Texas.
this one is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't see that level of clarity in the wording, but perhaps once released.
Fair. Thank you. Thanks for that, Nancy. So do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue?
Hey, Gwen, can I ask a question? Sorry, I should put my hand up, but do we put a size? Are we leaving it open? I just want to
I
get,
think
is
that
it just
goes
for
into the-
large? Okay, so you're leaving it open. I just want to make sure.
Well, let me try to answer that. I
Okay.
think from what we've heard, the need is for the larger TVAC chambers.
Okay.
There are several that exist in the state of Texas. Building a TVAC chamber is not a quick and easy thing to do. So that's why this resolution is looking at upgrades or updates to existing facilities. So I believe the need, Kathy, that we've heard and collectively learned about in the working groups as well is for those larger chamber capabilities.
So that's
So
what
when
we're really
we-
targeting the RFIs for. I just
That's
wanted to
right.
know. Okay.
I think it's important in the RFI that we address that. So thank you guys for that conversation. Very good. Okay. Are we good on camera? Just to make sure. We still have,
Yeah, I was just going to comment. I don't see the room anymore online. I don't know if legally that's an issue. Well, we have to be on camera. I don't know if you have to be on camera, but we don't see the room anymore.
we are.
There you go.
Now you're
Are we
back.
back? Okay, thank you. Thanks, Kate, for working some magic. Oh, technology. Okay, so let me go back. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue an RFI about existing thermal vacuum chamber facilities?
So moved.
Thank you, Brad. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. All in favor to the resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Or any abstentions? Okay, the motion is approved for staff to work with to work on the draft RFI. Okay. All right, third resolution in your board book, page 8. We have a resolution to issue an RFI about existing facilities that can be outfitted to specialized equipment to support vibroacoustic environmental evaluation, such as EMI, EMC tests. This RFI will seek input from specific respondents to identify existing facilities as well as optimal equipment which support test and evaluation of spaceflight hardware and vibroacoustic environments. The responses must outline mobile technologies also available to increase or enhance existing capabilities in Texas. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to approve issuing an RFI about mobile EMI, EMC technologies to support vibroacoustic environmental tests and evaluation? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue an RFI about mobile EMI, EMC technologies to support vibroacoustic environment test and evaluation?
So.
Thank you, Nancy.
and
May
I'll
I have a second? Thank
I'll
you,
second.
Kurt. All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Or any abstentions. The resolution is approved. Okay, moving on to resolution 4, competitive grant opportunity for to issue a competitive grant opportunity for opportunities to provide matching funds specifically for small business innovation research or SBIRS and small business technology transfer or SITR projects. Or similar funding programs. This CGO will be available for DoD, NASA, NSF, or other federal projects that receive an award within a reasonable amount of time preceding the date when our CGO is formally opened, rather than projects that received an award years ago. Initially, the board will approve $15 million to be made available from the SURF Trust for matching grants related to SBIR and STTR proposals. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to issuing a CGO or SBIR, STTR matching opportunities?
I've got a comment.
Yes, sir.
I think this is one of the great things that we as a commission have thought about, talked about. I think I heard this not only from industry participants in Texas, but allows us to be and remain competitive, especially for kind of those innovation companies. Norman, can you explain what is the competitive grant opportunity process? That's a new term that maybe some other folks haven't really heard about.
Sure. It's essentially what we did in 2024. We opened an application and folks can meet those definitions that are created, and we'll work with the grants team in Turner to create a new application this go around for this particular grant opportunity. But essentially what we did in 2024 was the same thing. It was a competitive grant process. And so an application will be created. We hope to have an online portal available here in the next couple of weeks as well for folks to use for submitting that information to us. And then it also helps with the evaluation process ultimately that the board has to complete as well. Slight progress in terms of the technological advancements since the way we did it in 2024. But a competitive grant opportunity is a grant application, just like we created in 2024. This is just very narrow for projects specific to SITR, SBIRS, and related federal programs that might also include TACFI, STRATFI, and other things like that as well.
So could you discuss or say when it will be available, the details of the review process?
The details of the review process that the board follows.
The review process for these applications. So last time we
Yep.
engaged an outside entity.
Roger. So in this instance, there's an opportunity for TARSEC without conflicts of interest to provide a technical review and input to the board. before it is ultimately scored, if you will. All of that will hopefully be done digitally, much easier than the manual process that we did previously. If the board so chooses to use again an external technical review authority, then we can have that conversation as well, like we did in 2024, 2025 timeframe as well. But immediately, it'll take us a few weeks to work through the process of actually organizing the application material and getting that uploaded to what we hope to have as a new CRM sooner rather than later.
And at that time, I'd like to ask for staff support to show the board, whether we have to do it individually, how we access this new system.
Of course.
If I hear where Nancy's going, but I think this is a great opportunity. A couple things about these matching SIBR and SITR projects is the opportunity, if we find there's a huge demand for matching funds, we can come back as a board and we, we're allocating initially up to 15 million today. But ultimately we can add to that as time progresses, depending on the need. These grant opportunities really are game changing for early stage space companies. So, and I do think this is a great opportunity for the non-conflicted subject matter expertise of the TARSEC executive committee to take an active role in reviewing these. So does that help, Nancy?
Yes, and I just have one other clarification question. So when people who come from my world read similar space-related research and development boards, the intent is primarily for industry, right? Or industry partnership with academia?
I think that's, Norman, I'll defer to you.
So the eligible entities that can pursue specifically the TAC 5, Strat 5, SIBR, SITRs, I believe is the intent currently, unless there's a different discussion now
Okay.
by the board.
And I don't know in this case, and I don't know if
It's because of that last one, the way it's worded, similar space-related research and development, federal awards. Read that a little more broadly.
yeah.
Well, for what it's worth, I'll say it for maybe a third time. I think that the intent there is, aside from the SIBRs and SITRs, specifically the TAC 5 and Strat 5s are similar space-related research development federal awards.
And that could be a company, a nonprofit. I don't know. I'm not
All of the eligible
Clear from
entities
the-
defined by this federal
That's right.
awards. Yes,
That's it.
off the top of my head. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
And board members, you may remember, or you may recall, I think it was last session or the session before, there was legislation for the state to create a program that would provide matching funds, specifically very similar, not space related, but just any company that received those types of federal grants.
That's
It
great.
didn't pass, but
Okay.
the thought is
So
out
maybe
there.
we can start a trend for other industries as well.
Mhm.
So, got it. Okay, super. Great questions. Thank you. Members, is there any additional discussion on this resolution to approve issuing a competitive grant opportunity for SBIR, STTR matching funds? Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue a CGO for SIBR and SITR matching opportunities?
I
So
moved.
moved.
Or I'll second.
Kathy?
Sorry.
Kathy has the second, Brett has the
I have
first,
a
Kathy
second.
has the second. All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? Okay, the resolution is approved. Thank you. Okay, moving on to resolution 5. The fifth resolution is to issue an RFI seeking input from Texas companies already engaged in the national security space architecture, especially those which have been publicly identified for priorities related to the Golden Dome mission. In particular, this RFI will target specific respondents to share insight about critical infrastructure required in order for them to successfully support national security space priorities. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to approve issuing an RFI about national security space architecture, particularly pertaining to critical infrastructure needs identified by Texas entities?
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I think we may need to make a slight adjustment on this because it's not just Texas companies and infrastructure, it's our infrastructure. We may have some government entities that enable infrastructure and likewise space architecture and or publicly disclosed golden domes. So it is, we want to probably keep this RFI. It's only an RFI, but I think we probably want to keep it a little bit more broad there. So it would be and or in the second line and or in the third line. We have some government entities that I think might be affected.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Point taken. Any other board discussion in alignment with that?
I assume that that's sufficient. There's some things in the whereases that may also need to be adjusted, but I think you understand the intent.
Yes, and the idea behind these resolutions is to give board approval for staff to tackle a first draft of an RFI that will then be reviewed by subject matter experts. So I think this is an excellent add, but I'll add that on to, we will see the RFI before they are distributed. So thank you, and I appreciate your attention to detail, ma'am. Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution with the changes as defined by Dr. Heather Wilson, the and or in this resolution, to issue an RFI, draft and issue an RFI about national security space architecture?
Moved.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Curry-Gregg. All right, all in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. And any abstentions? Okay, motion, the resolution is approved. Thank you. All right, resolution number 6, we have a resolution to issue an RFI or request for information about critical infrastructure regarding support for meeting emergent human spaceflight missions, specifically environmental control and life support systems, otherwise known as ECLSS, for those that are learning the NASA terminology. This RFI will seek to obtain examples about rough order of magnitude, describing likely requirements for future facilities with proper capability and capacity to ensure the safety of crews in the human spaceflight process. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to approve issuing an RFI about environmental control and life support systems, or ECLSS? Thoughts on the importance for those that have possibly flown into space? Dr. Curry-Gregg.
As you know, ECLSS traditionally has been somewhat of a fragile system, and an exceptionally important one. So, especially, leading to the future, longer and longer duration missions, further away from Earth. So,
Thank you, Greg. And thank you all, and the work group that addressed this.
Yeah, it was, could I make a comment here too?
Please, sir.
Well, I haven't flown into space, Nancy. I've spent a lot of my life working on human space flight, and while it may not be obvious about the fragility, as Nancy was talking about, of those systems, your life depends on them, and unfortunately, things are different in space, which we've learned in spades over the years. And the uniqueness of the space environment, while again not necessarily obvious to initially, is really, really important. And so, yeah, this capability is something everyone struggles with across the globe, I can assure you. And I look forward to fostering this capability here in the state of Texas, and for the future of human spaceflight, which I hope not only sustains but grows into the future. So I appreciate us as a board taking this step and look forward to the results.
Thank you, Kirk. Great comments as well. And I know we have several other board members on the line today that have spent their careers in human spaceflight. If there's any other comments. Welcome.
This is going to be really important to some of the things you talked about with commercial LEO destinations before and being able to support having, because previously these have been facilities and processes that the government's kind of made and sustained, right? And so when you have companies that are trying to go achieve and develop systems that took quite a bit of resources for NASA to develop, this is going to be structuring this right. It's going to be critical.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the resolution to issue an RFI about environmental control and life support systems, or ECLIS?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Kirk, former ISS program manager, I believe. All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. Any abstentions? Okay, the resolution is approved. Thank you. All right, resolution 7. We have a resolution to issue an RFI, request for information about a propulsion test facility, specifically for input to organize a plan that enables a shared facility for multiple users to access for testing and evaluation, as well as research and development. This RFI will seek to obtain a rough order of magnitude in its examples, outlining requirements for future facilities with proper capability and capacity that supports a shared user model for maintaining and operating a large-scale propulsion test facility. If you recall, some of this came up in the work groups around hypergolic testing in particular, and large-scale facilities to do that. There are none in Texas or in immediate adjacent areas. So any board discussion on this resolution to issue an RFI about shared propulsion test, a shared propulsion test facility?
And my only comment, I think this is a great complement to what we just discussed prior with ECLIS, as we move more and more to autonomous space vehicles and accelerate more of those vehicles up on orbit. Having those test infrastructures in place that don't create the bottleneck, but open it up a little bit, will allow Texas to, kind of move out in front of maybe some other locations. So I think this is a great opportunity for us. So it's good that we're leaning in here.
Yeah, along that point, I know that we've heard from various audiences that every time we have to ship across the country, it not only delays time to get the tests done, the test and evaluation process done, it's also difficult on the hardware. The more you move this hardware across the country, the more room there is for new challenges. So I think, again, to your point, speed and efficiency, cost effectiveness too, for whatever entity, whether it's a governmental agency, a commercial company, a nonprofit, or a university, seem to come in play here. All right, do I have a motion to approve issuing an RFI about a shared propulsion test facility?
So
Thank you, Dr. Curry-Gregg. And may I have a second? Here, John? Was that you, John?
Second.
Second, okay, great. I wasn't looking up. I apologize. I think I have your voice in down. Okay, the motion was made by Dr. Nancy Curry-Gregg and a second by John Shannon. All in favor of approving this resolution, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Or Kathy, did I see an additional?
No,
hand up?
I was just,
Okay.
no, I was just trying to get to my eye. Sorry.
Okay, good. No, thank you. This resolution is approved. Okay. Eighth, we have a resolution to issue an RFI about future opportunities for the board to exercise Texas Government Code, Chapter 482.1077, to market and promote the state as a premier location for space-related industries and promote commission activities. This RFI will seek to obtain information from interested companies, communities, governmental entities, and organizations. Members, is there any discussion on this resolution to approve issuing an RFI about future opportunities to market and promote the Lone Star State or the commission?
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is this RFI for? What is the request for information?
Understand what events, activities, conferences that we do receive a number of for sponsorship. Anything to add on that?
Just, I mean, we're the agency that markets and promotes the state of Texas for business. So perhaps a good place to start would be with us, since we've been doing this for a long time. And we know the economic development and marketing world and can at least provide, some insight.
So how would it, for example, a couple of recent examples was the Space Demand Signal Forum in Waco. And put on by a nonprofit organization, or the upcoming Texas Space Summit. These are new events and activities. How can you add a little bit of how we
Sure.
might work together?
So, I mean, there are a lot of things and a lot of organizations that are doing things. And of course, this is a very important industry for the state. We'll be going to London in a couple of weeks for the aviation show, which has an aerospace component. We were at Paris last year. And so I'm just trying to understand, what information are you gathering from companies? I mean, they'll have a lot of information and requests for your participation. And I guess that's what you're trying to do, is to figure out what to participate in and how to navigate that.
So over the last few years, we've gotten a lot of just direct requests about different forums, conferences, events. Some have been out of state, which we always go back to the government code and isn't something that we have done. So it's really the direct requests that are coming in for Space Commission resources, which in the statute, it is noted that we can invest in promoting the space industry here in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So I guess the question would be, let's absolutely create a funnel for conversation. I mean, I think it makes sense. Norman?
I just add that it's specific, I think, intended for the commission engagement and to create a process for which we can receive these kinds of inquiries versus just inundating email inboxes, asking, can you come here? Can you sponsor this? Can you do that? So I think if we at least organize a methodology for which communities and companies can ask for the commission to be present or part of something, this RFI can help us establish a process to work through these reviews.
So my only, I guess, comment, maybe a question would be, the intent of this seems a little vague. So because when I reread it, are we directing this to kind of the space events and symposium kind of sponsors, or is it more of a contract partner who wants to help manage our participation in events? And so I just raised that as a.
Because it says obtain information from companies, that could be publications seeking advertising, that could be advertisers, that could be promoters, that could be,
Right.
I mean, it's all of the above. And so a giant net has been opened. And so that's why I'm asking, what are you trying to do? And maybe we can have a conversation first.
Yeah.
And then narrow it down, because I can't imagine as a new entity and lots of communities and conferences and nonprofits saying sponsor us or speak or, partner with us. It's a, how do you kind of finesse that, those waters? And so anything we can do to help with that, we certainly can and will.
You go.
I'm just like,
Between the two of those comments are, I think for sure, not a promoter type company trying to come and ask for business, I think is certainly part of the intent here.
And I guess I questioned, do we need an RFI out there? We just have like a inbox working with Adriana and her team.
Sure.
Just to- if people want.
We have that
permission to
highly
participate.
operating right now.
Yeah, so.
It sounds to me, and it's not that we want to add work to Adriana's team, it's your expertise in this area to help guide.
right,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's how we are beginning to engage and utilize.
Yeah. And there may be a need for a narrower RFI that's specific to, sponsorship opportunities or speaking engagements or, you have a, list of very, very highly expert individuals.
Right.
Who are likely in very high demand. And you all have day jobs.
I
As
would
well.
say this is more in line, I'm just gonna speak for myself, those that I have seen come across. In what is appropriate, and we use the code, what is appropriate to sponsor, like we're not gonna go to international or national as a space commission, show or conference and necessarily put in hundreds of thousands of dollars in, which are usually the requests, in sponsorship.
Right.
Dollars.
But there may be opportunities partnered together,
Absolutely.
so.
Yeah.
Those are things we can talk about and explore and.
I think the RFI, and correct me if the staff contribution to this is different, but what's on the radar going forward? An RFI would allow us to better understand who's out there. I see us, and I'm sure I know some of our media friends in the room see this. Space conferences have once again, they're popping up everywhere and there's new conferences. And now, and then 2 years ago, we started seeing a little bit of consolidations of three, people coming together for 3 conferences in 3 days. So we're in a bit of, I will say this on the record, conference overload. And speakers are one thing, but it's particularly the request for funding. Will you be our title sponsor for this space conference? It's very important. It's very different. So I think we need to better understand what is out there. So maybe
Madam
that
Chair?
doesn't make a resolution. Yes, ma'am.
If I might add something in, first, I think it has to be, whatever we do has to be tightly coordinated with economic development. But that the narrow RFI looking at who should we sponsor, where should we speak, seems pretty tactical to me, as opposed to, we've got a lot of incoming proposals from companies and so forth. I think we need some pretty good analysis of where the market is going and where the real opportunities are, to both on shredding the federal budget for NASA and the Pentagon, but also there is a proliferation of new space companies as well as established space companies. Which ones and which capabilities should Texas proactively go after? Should the Texas Space Commission, not just wait for the incoming invitation, but to identify the 10 companies between LA and San Francisco or up the Front Range of the Rockies that we want to go visit, to make sure they understand what Texas has to offer. So that it's more about understanding the landscape, which is very dynamic. And you might already have that information, but I don't get the feeling that the Space Commission has it well enough to be able to plan and target our outgoing.
Good point.
So to me, that's a RFI for a market research study.
Could be. It is dynamic. It's not just a study. because we're talking about something that changes over time and where we can plan out the next 18 months, the time of Norman and his staff, as well as board members, all right, here are our 20 highest priority targets given the NASA budget, and then there's going to be pop-ups as well. So I feel a little bit like we're running and gunning, which is great,
Yeah.
but I'd also rather be a little bit more deliberate if we have some real targets we think we should go after.
I'm gonna ask Norman, our executive director, for any thoughts or recommendations if we should. My mind is wondering, do we pause on this one for today?
We certainly can, and we certainly have an inbox that is regularly monitored and constantly checked. And for those that are of interest, it's a internal vetting and checking, and sometimes it's direct invites to board members or awareness being made to board members directly versus through our inbox or my inbox for that matter either. So there's certainly a process that we can continue, and we can just make a more concerted effort and crossover in terms of coordination with EDT. So to your point, yes, ma'am, this is not necessary for us to continue
Okay.
to receive information from people.
Okay, I'd like to propose that we pause on this resolution today, and let's have, if staff could take the action to convene let's get on get into conversation on it.
Certainly.
And then we'll consider it.
Yes, ma'am.
Going forward, so, okay, perfect. All right, so no action there. Okay, page here. All right, members, next up will be an executive session of the board, a closed meeting per Texas Government Code sections 482-198 and 551-092. It's posted and noticed in agenda item number 9. At this time, staff, please show members of the public joining in person where they may wait until the executive session concludes. And please take the necessary steps to ensure only board members attending they are in the executive room online. The time is 11:02 and we are in recess. All right. The time is 12:12 and we're back in the public session after just having just met an executive session until 12:10. As permitted by Texas Government Code sections 482.198 and 551.092, per posted and noticed in agenda number 9. No specific action will be taken, so we'll resume with the remainder of the posted agenda. Members, our final agenda item number 15 is adjournment, but before doing so, is there any further business related to what we discussed in the open meeting today?
Happy birthday, America, 250.
Absolutely. Yes, happy birthday. Very important. Well, I thank you all for your time. I know meeting quarterly, our meetings may be a little more extended, but I hope this has been insightful, and I appreciate all of the actions taken today. So hearing no additional comments, the meeting is adjourned at 12:13 Central Time, and have a great holiday weekend, everyone.